We made it to the top 10, and at number 10, we have the 1948 Leaf Jackie Robinson. And here to talk about this card today, a guy who I know loves this card, Jeremy Lee from Sports Cards Live. Jeremy, what do you think about this card showing up in the top 10? How do you feel about that?
I'm glad to see it in the top 10. It deserves to be there. I'm curious to see what cards came ahead of it. You're right, Adam. I love this card. People love to ask collectors. We like to ask each other, if you could only own one card, what would it be? Collectors ask us the question. Our non-collecting friends ask us the question. My answer is often, if I could only own one card and I have thousands, if I could only own one card, what would it be? My answer for the last few years has been my 1948 Leaf Jackie Robinson. It to me is a card that transcends sports. It transcends sports cards. It's so important. Jackie Robinson is a historical figure that changed things. He led the change. And so to me, 10 is a great spot. I want to see what came ahead of it and if I agree with those with its ranking at number 10.
You and I have talked about this card at length on the PWCC Premier Auction Show that we do every month. And I think the reason that we talk about it is because we see one every few months, not every month, probably not even every second month, but maybe once a quarter, we'll see this card available via the Premier Auction. And it really has grown in popularity. Listening to you talk about it has made me more interested in it because of the way that you sort of diagnose the registration issues, the centering, and how differentiated these cards can be, even within the same grade. We can talk all day about why it's as iconic as it is, but I think we would do a disservice if we didn't let you sort of talk for a second about what makes, in your opinion, a great copy, and about also just how rare the card is in general. Can you discuss both of those things? Yeah,
I mean, again, nowadays with access to the global economy, access to copies on various platforms, card shows, at the National this year, I saw several copies. You'd go to some booths and they have 4 or 5 of them. So the card itself is not all that rare. It's not all that hard to find. But that said, finding the right copy for you is extremely difficult. I looked at all the copies that I saw, and I don't think there was one that I would have really wanted to acquire for my own personal collection, considering I already have a copy. I personally own a PSA 6, and I'll show it. My copy is not well centered at all. It's not a copy that I would go out and like seek, but I have it because of just the circumstances in which I was set up at the Toronto Expo. A fellow collector friend brought it to my booth and we made a deal on it. And I just decided this is a card for me. So the things to look out for on this card, as you mentioned, centering. Here's my copy. You can see the centering. It's not strong left to right. It's definitely off-centered, but look at the registration, which people also consider to be the focus. It is extremely well focused. It is, the colors pop on it. I love everything about this card, Adam. And, when I'm buying a card for my personal collection that is from, even the 50s or back, I don't mind rounded corners. I don't mind some chipped edges. I want my vintage cards to be vintage. I want a little bit of toning on the border. I want my card to look, I want my imagination to run wild about what's the chain of ownership? What's the provenance of this card? It's a mystery. I'll never know who owned this card before the person I purchased it from, unless I go out and ask them. But to me, the simplicity of the card, all it has is his name on the front. You turn it over, it's like a page out of a book. There's no design to it. This is what they were doing back in the day. So I love the card. I love, of course, the subject, Jackie Robinson. I love what he stood for. I love his story. I love the colors. I love the shape. I've got a lot of great cards in my collection, Adam. I've been collecting for over 40 years, and I've accumulated what I consider to be a world-class collection. This is the card that if I was forced to only own one card, this is it.
Well, I know enough about the rest of your collection to take that comment really seriously. And again, as you speak about it, it makes me think, gosh, I need to try to figure out a way to find something that's, that I feel that passionate about, specifically that card. I'd love to own a copy as well. Your perspective on this card and throughout this countdown, Jeremy, has been something that I've been really grateful for. Appreciate your thought leadership in the space, and appreciate your being willing to jump on here and help us count down the iconic 100. Is there any last comments you want to say on this? Your last card on the list?
I just think it's a wonderful initiative that you've been spearheading there on behalf of PWCC, Adam. I think this is fun. This list is not definitive. It's not a rule. I think what it's going to do is spark conversation, maybe some debate. And if you were to redo this a couple of years, you're going to see cards kind of jumping around all over the place. And I think that'll be something worthy of doing. And then you can do a comparison, where did the cards move? Especially if you poll the same 150 people, but maybe add in a 50 new people, or some drop off, some stay on. It'll be interesting to see. I think the important thing, though, is that this is in the spirit of content. It's in the spirit of sharing the combined opinion of those who you polled. And I think this is it's a fun project. And I'm glad that PWCC and yourself are doing that at this time, at this point of history of our hobby. So thank you guys for doing this.
Well, I appreciate, I would say thank you to PWCC, because, and all of our guests, because it's obviously a ton of effort, but the thing that has come out of it, I think, is really wonderful. And you and I are doing the same thing, where it's like, should that have ended up a couple spots higher, a couple spots lower? In general, I feel really good about how the whole thing turned out. And I'm really excited to count down these next 9 cards. I think, the reception so far has been incredible, as we're recording this today, and just really excited to see how the rest of it goes. So again, Jeremy Lee from Sports Cards Live, thank you for your time and your expertise on this. Tomorrow, I will be joined by another guest, and we will enter, now you past the top 10. We'll get to number 9. And until tomorrow, happy collecting.